I was just about to hire a video editor, but I'm not going to anymore. Because this week I finally pushed through 6 months of AI anxiety and actually trained Claude to edit my podcasts my way, not with Descript or Riverside or Opus Clip or whatever the tool is, because I tried all of them. I mean, I also paid for all of them, and I felt like the quality isn't there yet. I'm sure it will be there in 6 or in 12 months, but it's not there yet. And this is exactly why I'm so happy now. And this is exactly why it matters right now. Because the window where you can get an unfair advantage over your competition by scaling your content with AI, the window is open today. Because I think in 12 months, the tools will be so good that they will be available to anybody and the advantage will be gone. As I said, I have been playing around with all sorts of AI tools for more than 6 months now. And this week, I actually took the time and I pushed through the frustration as well that comes with learning new skills and training your own AI. And I actually trained it on my own editorial taste and my own subtitle style that I want to have, on my own cuts, my own framing, all of this. And the result is that I got a 300% increase in terms of output. So what I usually did was I have my podcast about an hour long and I repurposed long form to short form into somewhere between 10 and 15 reels, clips. And it took me about a day, entire day of work. With the pipeline that I set up in Claude, that I will show you later, I got out 43 clips, which is more than 300% increase, as I said. Are all the clips perfect? No, they're not. But they are way better than the clips that you would get out of Submagic or Opus Clip or Descript. The thing that it actually showed me, like having gone through this process of teaching and training Claude, which can be very frustrating. The thing that I learned from teaching it my taste was that I can do this for everything now, not just podcast editing, but also talking head editing. So the 300% increase is cool. But what this process that I went through actually showed me is that I have the power to automate basically everything. Everything that I do with a laptop in the digital space, I can automate or I can train Claude to do for me. Now let me show you what happened these last 7 days. Let's talk about why you should go down the road that I chose versus just using, for example, something like Opus Clip. Opus Clip is, if you don't know this, it's a platform where you pay $30 a month and you can upload your podcast episodes and it will automatically clip the podcast for you. So for example, like this, and it doesn't have to be a podcast. It could be anything that you do, really. So you will upload the podcast and it will spit out clips. But what I found is that no matter how you set up your profile inside of Opus Clip, the editing and the clipping is okay. Even when it gets a rating of 98, 99 or 98%, it's nothing special. It's just AI junk for the most part. So let's go a little deeper into what you can do in Opus Clip or other softwares for that matter, and what you can't do. Obviously, you upload your long form video. Then what Opus Clip does is it picks the moment and it cuts the moments. You can customize the captions. You can choose the clip length range. You can choose a certain genre preset. So you can ask, hey, the content is more educational or the content is more entertaining, stuff like that. You can also do like a light trim after you did the generation of the clips. You can add B-roll and you can schedule it to all platforms. But what you can't do is you can't really choose where each clip starts or ends. You can't do any editorial tasting. So the clips that will be put out, they don't sound like you or your taste or your brand. It's generic stuff. Also, what you can't do is, for example, you like a clip, but you want two versions of the same clip. So that one version where the speaker A asks the question and then speaker B gives the answer, and the second version of the second iteration of the same clip where you have just the answer, and in order to give people context, you will put a text overlay with a question. Also, what you can't do is a per clip review pass. So before the clip is being dispatched to you and you can watch the clip, you can't have an LLM pass that will transcribe the clip and will make sure that the clip is actually good enough to be rendered. And again, this review pass is what you can train your own Claude to do. It's your taste. It's what working for your industry or for your audience. So all I'm saying is with Opus Clip or all these other tools, you can customize the wrapper and you can get results that are maybe 50, 60%, but you can't customize the editorial taste. So what you usually don't get is clips that will get to 80 or 90% of the quality that you would get if you would do it manually. And now we'll go through the pipeline, or the actual build of the pipeline. So as I said in the beginning, it took me about 7 days. And obviously this is a huge time investment. And this is also the problem that I have, or that I had with AI. When you get started with AI, in the beginning, your output will go down, and then you will get better at it, and you have to train it like you would, but it will just take time. So in the beginning, it will go down, but after enough iterations, it will go up. So you just have to pay this learning, or this training tax in the beginning. And it took me 7 days, about 5 to 6 hours a day. But now I have my pipeline ready to go. Day 1 to 3, I trained the cutter. I just gave Claude an idea how I want the cutting to be, how I want the edit to look like or to feel like in the end. What I did is I took reference reels, so reels of ours that have gone viral in the past, that we like, that our audience seemed to like. I gave them to Claude. Claude transcribed them in order to just get an initial feel of what I wanted to look. Obviously, you need more data than just a few reels. What I then did is I gave Claude 20 to 30 raw cuts of reels. So with all the filler words, all the, restarting sentences, all the ums and ahs in there. I did the manual cuts myself inside of DaVinci, and I let AI do the cuts on its own. Then I let AI transcribe my version and the version it did itself, and it did the difference between the two, and from that it derived rules. And with each loop it got better. So we came up with, the blueprint, let's say the editor, the AI editor, version 1, version 2, version 3, and so on. Now we are at version 7.5. I'm sure this will not be the last version. I'm sure we will get, over the next weeks or months, we will get to version 10, 20, whatever. And I'm sure that version 10 or at version 20, it will be so good that it will eventually be able to do the cutting and to do the entire pipeline on its own. It's not there yet, but it will be there in a few weeks. Days 4 and 5, we focused on the look. So the subtitle format, I wanted to have 3-word chunks only. I wanted to have a certain font. I wanted to have a nice drop shadow so that it's just readable, so that the readability of the subtitles is perfect. Also, we determined the text hook style in the beginning with everything that goes with that. So the pill, so the kind of the background of the text hook, the timing, how long do I want the text hook to appear in the beginning of the reel. At day 6, we did the first half of the podcast, so the first 30 minutes or so, and we came up with 18 to 20 ship ready pieces. At day 7, we did the second half of the podcast. I will go into the details of day 6 and 7 in a minute. In the end, we came up with 43 reels from one podcast episode. Again, these reels are not perfect, but they are way better than what I got out of Opus Clip so far. And again, this is my pipeline. I can use this now for every time. It doesn't cost me anything else, but obviously my Claude Max subscription, but I don't have to pay for Opus on top of that. The only subscription that I have running now that I need for this is 11 Labs. I will come back to this later as well. When I did it manually, I got between 12 and 15 pieces of like reels per podcast. And when I did this, I was hustling for 2 days. And it was a lot of work, because even when it's easy work, it's just a shortcut that you have to repeat over and over again. But if you have to do the shortcut 100, 200, like 1,000 times per day, it's just tiring, and obviously this is where AI is different. And now we ended up with 43 reels, so it's about 300% output increase. And this is the first iteration of the pipeline. I'm sure we can, get even better than this, because for every reel that you have the hook, you have the body, the meat in the end, in the middle, and then you have the payoff in the end. You can have different variations. So for many of these reels, I can have maybe 2 or 3 or even 4 iterations, shifting the sequencing kind of what is being said. But you can also try out different text hooks. So once this pipeline is really up and running, you can have 100 or even 200 reels of one podcast, and you can try out all of them using trial reels on Instagram or just TikToks. Let's move on to the pipeline itself. First of all, you obviously have to input the source material. Secondly, the source material gets transcribed using 11 Labs. And I'm on the 11 Labs starter plan, which is about, I think, $6 at the moment. Third, you have the discovery pass based on the references that I gave Claude. It looks for clip candidates and it lists out all of them. And then I pick the ones that I want to be rendered. Then what it does the cutting and the framing. So it makes sure that every time when there's a switch in camera, it frames the speaker in the middle. Then it does the cutting, the thing that we trained for the first 3 days. We are at version 7.5 at the moment. Again, I'm sure that when we get to version 10 or so, the cutting and the editorial picking and stuff like this will even be better. Then 5, I review all of the pieces that it did. I review them, I watch them, and I make sure that everything is perfect. It still does mistakes, but still the quality of what my Claude is doing versus what Opus Clip is doing is night and day. And again, this is also a learning loop. Every time when I tell Claude that I don't want this, but I want this, it learns and it will add what it learns to the blueprint version. Sixth, it does the text hooks and it gives me 4 iterations of 4 ideas per clip. And it does use this function of the user questions where you can just click and obviously it registers every decision that I made for every clip. And it was like 43 clips. It gives me 4 iterations of text hook. And every time when I do it, make a decision, it learns. And the next batch will be a little better. And the batch after this, and so on and so forth. So that's really cool as well. 7th, the subtitles, the hook overlay, and the background music. For example, I have chosen 5 pieces of background music. And I just told Claude, I want you to pick randomly for every clip. I want a different background music, and you can just pick randomly from the pool of background music that I gave you. What I also said to Claude is, I want the background music 60% or so quieter than the voices. After this is done, I do the final watch and I make sure that everything's perfect. And also here, I still have to tweak a little bit and say, hey, the subtitle isn't correct. Please clean it up, please fix. And then final step would be to auto upload it to Metricool. Metricool is the scheduling tool that I use at the moment. And I've set up the API to Metricool, and I can just talk to Claude with natural language and it will upload the pieces like I want it to. It's like OpusClip, but personalized. It's tasteful and it's wired into my real scheduling tool, which is Metricool. And I don't have to pay on top of my Claude Max subscription that I'm paying anyway. And please bear with me, this is my first YouTube video. I will do my best to, as Claude, increase and improve the quality for the next videos. For now, I hope that you will take away from this video that you can do all of this yourself. You don't need any external tools. You don't need to wait until the perfect tool is out there. You can program Claude to do what you want. You can program your taste inside Claude. And this is very powerful. And I'll see you guys in the next video.